Yo, today we have Quora. Now, the focus of today is going to be this one question, and we'll see how long I can really dissect this topic of obstacles to positive thinking. Now, the question is, what are the main obstacles to positive thinking? Now, this was written in November, as you can see, November 24th, and I say one main obstacle is changing the small habits of the way you structure your sentences. And I've talked about this a few times now about sentence structures, but I'll get onto it after I finish reading. For example, saying things like, I can't do this, or I am not good enough to do this. Simple conscious arguments like, or simple conscious adjustments like, I can do this if I work harder, or I am not good enough to do this yet, goes a long way, although they are only slight changes. So, yeah. Now, we're going to go full cam for this. First time I really done this. Now, and I mentioned in that last bit that I can do this if I work harder. Meaning that you have the ability to do this. You just need to put in more effort. So this doesn't strip you away from believing that you can actually achieve something. Now, the second one I mentioned is that I am not good enough to do this yet. Now, yet is one word, but it changes so much in how you think about your how you can capitalize on things. Because if you say yet, that opens the door to later on down the line, I can do this, but not now. So just those slight tweaks and things can make the biggest difference, because it starts off small. It's never really something that starts off big. It starts off small, and it's in the small things that you say, how you frame, how you think, and how you frame how you speak, and how you frame how you act. You build on that to the point it becomes your natural way of thinking for big things. And I think that's overlooked, honestly. Even myself, I overlook it, so that's why I say it. You think about the big event, or you think about, oh, in a month's time I should be able to make these big decisions, these big changes in my life, and make this much and do this much, achieve this much. And you never really think about, let me start from the bottom and build my way up. Instead you think, let me start from the top. How do I get to the top and start there? But you have to actually work from the bottom and get to that point. Now, I read some extra notes on this to hopefully expand a little bit more. And the first thing I mentioned is that this concept of sentence structure, I really got from Robert Kiyosaki. Shout out to him. I got from him back in 2020 when I watched his interview. And it was a short interview. It was like 8 minutes. Of some men's motivational YouTube channel posted that thing. But he really broke down something that I have gone on to use in my own life and give advice on, which is the rich mind versus the poor mind, and how sentence structure really starts to show you how a person thinks. And really, I kind of already mentioned it in the paragraph that I read. And that stuff I read, that's stuff I wrote back in November, guys. Like, I still agree with it, and I wrote it in November, which is a good sign. And the idea is that there are two types of people: the rich mind and the poor mind. And the rich-minded person, he ends his sentences with statements, meaning, like, for example, if you was to actually write a word, if you was to write a sentence and end it with a full stop, that's what I mean by a statement, or you end it with an exclamation mark. The poor-minded person does this. The poor-minded person ends his sentences with a statement. For example, I cannot afford this. I cannot do this. I'm not able. I'm not capable. But obviously, you look at it and you think, oh, it's just a statement. Like, bro, I've said this like 10 times today. What is that even supposed to mean? It's just words. Why are you making a big deal out of it? Well, it's not just about, that's the thing, it's not just about the statement. It's about what the connotation behind it. and your belief system behind what you say, and what the things that you're saying, how it affects your mind. If you're constantly telling yourself, I can't do this, I can't achieve this, I'm not able to be this, I can't do any of it, what do you think is going to happen to you? What do you think you're going to start to believe? You're really going to start to believe you can't do it and you're not able. And when it comes time to start working towards what you don't believe you're able to do, you're not going to be able to do it because you don't even believe in yourself. No matter if 1 million people believe in you, you don't believe in yourself, which is the most important person to believe in you right now. Start with yourself, and you do have to work on believing in yourself. And in this example, it starts with these sentences that you're forming. And it's such a simple thing to do. That's why Robert Kiyosaki recommends it, and why I recommend it too. Now, I didn't go over the rich-minded person. The rich-minded person, he ends his statements in questions. There's almost always a question mark behind that person's thinking. And of course, like for examples, the examples I'll give, how can I afford this? How can I achieve this? Why am I not able to do this? How do I go around this? How can I achieve this? Where can I do this? What do I need to do? Who do I need to talk? Etc., etc. I can keep going. And again, you'll probably, in the same way I mentioned those poor statements, you'll think, yo, brother, mate, I've said that like 15 times today. Does that mean I have the rich mind? Not necessarily, no. But over time, it's you look at the person and you understand through what they're saying, you start to have an insight into their belief system. And you should start looking into yourself, really, what I should be saying, what I love to do really is I love to go off topic and start to talk about other stupid stuff. But the main focus I'm trying to bring across here is that when you start to look at your statements in a singularly, they don't mean much, but you start to build a bank of statements in your life, and you have a repeating system of either the poor person's mindset or the rich person's mindset, and not rich in wealth, rich in mental wealth and how much you believe in yourself. That's how I scale the rich and the poor mindset. How much one believes in themselves and their abilities. So that person that asks more questions, they open the door to conversations, and they trigger that side of their brain that wants to solves problems. And you want that part of your brain active, because that's how you start solving these 99 problems you have in your life that are only adding up day by day. And actually, the fire alarm went off, so give me a minute. Oh God. Yo, look, the fire alarm's been going off for like 10 minutes and we don't know how to turn it off. Man, my ears. Yo, my ears. Yo, why am I doing this on camera? Alright. So, I'll be honest, I don't really know where I left off. I know I was talking about Robert Kiyosaki, the rich mind and poor mind. Basically, to end that off, the rich-minded person asks questions. Listen, I'm kind of out of breath because I went all the way down and up stairs. But the rich-minded person asks a lot of questions, which opens the door to conversations and problem solving. And the poor-minded person ends his sentences with statements, meaning it closes the door to questions. I mean, it closes the door to people having that conversation about how to solve things. It closes the door to solving problems, since you're so dead set on this problem being something definitive and you cannot change it. So that is what I want to cover with that. There's so much more I can delve in with that, but I think that is sufficient for now. Oh God. Yo, give me a minute. Alright. So the next thing I want to cover quickly is another thing that can be an obstacle to positive thinking is resistances. And what I mean by this is resistance is a concept that was brought up by Stephen Pressfield in his book The War of Art. And this concept of resistance, he puts everything that's negative in a bubble and he just calls it resistance, which I find a beautiful way of rounding up all of these negative terms, like fear, self-doubt, negativity, jealousy, envy, overindulging in self-criticism and focusing only on your mistakes. All of those things, like, if you try list them all, it's going to be really long to list and you're going to forget them. But if you just label them all under the one header, resistance, you can, you can just have it under one name, if that makes sense. I don't know, for me, that makes it very easy to cancel out all of the negativity by just calling them all resistance and trying to break out of resistance and trying to limit it as much as I can. And all of those things I mentioned that are under resistance, they all try to stop you from being positive minded and trying to be someone who's interested in growth. Resistance tries to stop you from achieving what you're supposed to achieve. It loves it when resistance, I'm gonna speak about resistance like a person. Resistance loves it when you're about to give up. Resistance loves it when you want to stop. Resistance loves it when you drop all of your goals and your passions and your dreams. That is resistance. And the close neighbor of resistance, or almost like its right-hand man, is rationalization. You might think to yourself, okay, why would I even get to the point where I would allow resistance to stop me from achieving what I want to achieve, etc.? Well, rationalization starts to back the fight. It starts to give back up to resistance. Rationalization means that you start to justify reasons why you should quit and reasons why you should stop. So in hindsight, you'll look back at, let me rephrase this. So for example, let's say you have a goal to read 10 pages of a book today, and you're dead set on it, and you say to yourself, look, I'm going to read this book no matter what. However, when the day passes, turns out you don't read the book, but you had a family meeting beforehand, but the family meeting wasn't long enough to prevent you from reading that 10 pages of that book. But rationalization starts to kick in and help resistance in stopping you from reading that 10 pages. Tell you, look, I have a family meeting. I might be tired afterwards. I might have to prepare some stuff beforehand. Maybe it might extend over. If it doesn't, maybe I might have to do something after. So I should just leave this for tomorrow. Now, these are all rational reasons why, and it's coming from you. So you think you have the most rationale. You think you have the best justifications. But really, it's coming from the side of resistance wanting to stop you from achieving what you're supposed to achieve. And that is the relationship between resistance and rationalization, and how it can stop you from being positive and achieving your goals, really. And there's so much more I can cover on that, but please refer to my past videos, like The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. I think Turning Pro also references it, and many other videos I've had on my Reddit and Quora series that kind of cover this entire topic of resistance, rationalization, and how it stops you from doing what you need to do and what you want to do. Now, the next thing I'll come across, I want to talk about is adjusting the framework of your mind. You need to kind of be aware of how your brain is framed, and you don't need to understand everything, because it's not possible. You will never understand everything, but you can understand the basics about how you speak, how you think, and how you interact with others. So start thinking about that, and then from there you can start adjusting to the positive side of things and to the growth aspect of things. But first things first is the awareness of how is your mind framed. Second thing is what your mental foundation is, understanding the core basics of your thinking patterns, and understanding where you're leading conversations, where you're leading ideas. Are you shutting ideas down? Are you shutting conversations down? Or are you inspiring more ideas? Are you inspiring more conversations? All of those things, etc. More and more and more. I could probably go into a video about that, because there's a lot to talk about. Next one, what you build on top of your foundation are keys to positive growth. So all of those three things I just mentioned, they're all keys to positive growth. And that last bit of what you build on top of your foundation, once you understand what your foundation is, the next is what you build on top of that foundation. What do you build on top of that core values? Like almost like a dartboard, where the middle section is your foundation and the outer bits start to become what you build on top of that. And you need to kind of be wary of it. And the last thing I wrote was awareness is one of the first steps to self-improvement and growth. And in my opinion, as I'm speaking about it, I believe it's one of the most important aspects to growth and self-improvement and personal development. You name them, every single one of them. Anything, any way you want to name it. Anything that includes growth. I think you need to kind of be aware of where you are and where do you want to go. Because once you know where A is, because you can't really go from A to B if you don't know where A or B is. So if you know where A is, where you are, B, where you want to go, with that awareness, you can actually start to make those changes. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.